Welcome to the first of I don't know how many episodes we're going to have of Dorm Room Builds. Today we have Damian Mendez. He got three shafts. He got three um, Fujikura Ventus Blacks. He was currently gaming, an array across his driver, his 5 wood, and his 4 hybrid. So, before I got on here, I already pulled all the shafts off. Um, and now he's gonna clean the other shafts up, cut them, sand them, and get rocking. So Damien's gaming a TS. What do we got here? TS what? Or no, he got a GT. Looks like a GT. I don't know. He had a lead tape, so I'm gonna judging by the head GT2 maybe. TSR2 and a TSR3 hybrid, all showing off the lead tape on the bottom, moving that CG a little bit more forward, giving him that lower ball flight because he's a very high ball hitter. So with that being said, let's grab the shafts and let's get to it. Okay, so now to unboxing the shafts. What do we got here? So it looks like Fujikura, threw in a couple goodies for us here. You got one of their Swannies, Fujikura polos, black with some little designs in it, golf carts, logos, the whole nines. Got some good stuff there. Let's see, we got another piece of swag here. You got a hoodie, a little golf hoodie with a little design up here in the top, shows off Fujikura logo, kind of very, very California, because they're in Carlsbad. That's where they're based out of. Let's get into the nitty gritty though. We got some packing material. We can throw that over there. We got the shaft collection book, giving us all the details of every shaft that they make. They even now have a new putter shaft out. We have some air speeders. That's for another client. We had some 3 ladies air speeders for her. She was getting a full array from driver, 3 wood, and 7 wood. But the cool part about it is, so one of these was a demo shaft, and they actually inscribe into it for me, Oster Golf Demo. Like, how sweet is that? Custom made demos just for me from Fujikura. Nice little touch that they do for us here. Okay, so now let's see, what did Damien get? So let's throw this box back here. So Mr. Damien, he got a 6X. We'll just take these off here, throw them down there. 6X for the driver, a 7X for the 5 wood, and an 8X for his hybrid. So before we get to cutting, we got to go over real quick what he had in there before. So his driver and his 5 wood were both sporting a Mitsubishi Chemical Diamana 70X and 80X. So we went a little lighter on the driver, just because of the profile of it. This profile shoots the ball up in the air, high launch, or mid to high launch, I should say. And it's a little higher spin. So the goal of Damien's shaft switch is to get the launch down a little bit, same with the spin. So that's why we went with the Ventus Black here. And the Hazardous Smoke Black, I believe, if I remember correctly, and a 90 gram for his hybrid. So we did go 10 grams less all the way throughout the top end of the bag. First off, we got to prep the heads, meaning we have to clean out all the gunk in there from pulling them off these shafts. And then, I think he's taking them back. So if he ever decides to put them back in, I'll get them all nice and cleaned up. The grips are okay. I don't think they're a little old, about a season in. So, we'll replace them for them. We got some in the back. And we'll clean up the tips, so in the event that we ever need to put these back in, it's a very quick process. We don't have to sit here and pull out the belt sander and go through the whole, everything just to get some shafts cleaned up. So let's start by prepping the heads. Put all the shafts over here, doesn't matter. So we got our drill bit, little wire brush on the end. Put it in here. You guys can see all that gunk that's built up, that dried up epoxy. So as you guys can see, there's all that kind of stuff. And just in these two here, yes, there's a little bit of dust, but I got some acetone. We'll take it in, clean all that kind of stuff out. Then you can see all the stuff that pulls out. In there. And as you can see, we had some more gunk in there. Our Oster Golf Co. gray snapback. Have the USA flag on that side. We have them in white, which I have right here. Gray and black USA flag. Black over here, which I've worn this one since the day I got them, about 6-8 months ago, pretty much every day, and holding up great. No sweat stains, no nothing like that. So they're really good hats. And I have a navy blue one, which I do not have out here with me. So good deal, 30 bucks. Okay, so now that we have all of these cleaned up, we're going to grab our head covers, put these in here so they don't get damaged. This 5-wood goes on the Cabot one. I will say Damien's head cover game is on point. He's got, looks like one from the Players Island Time from, I believe, probably last year, because I don't think he went this year. He's got a shotgun shell from Cabot Citrus Farms, I believe. 12 gauge, yeah, 12 gauge shotgun from Cabot Citrus Farms. A little embroidery right there. And I believe, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's where he did one of his internships at. Martha's Vineyard right here. Great spot. All great golf courses. Okay, so we got the iPad over here. We're looking up the specs just to see what the Fujikura tip trim guide says. And while that's loading, we're going to pull the belt sander out over here. And for the, not the hybrid, not the 60X, I'm actually going to scuff the tip up because with the driver, no tip trimming is involved. So I'm just going to go ahead and so now that we have the driver done, I can go ahead here and measure it. So Damon usually played a short driver before, but it was actually starting to become too short for him towards the end of that previous shaft in it. So good part about with this shaft is we can control how, let's see, probably have to trim it down just a hair more so it slides in there a little easier. He wants to go up to, because he's a little bit shorter guy, he wants to go up to 45 and a quarter actually. Reason being is we can always trim it down. Now that's nice and stuck in there. Come back over here, measure it out, and I actually have this cool tool I'm going to grab out for us from my good friends at Mitchell Golf when I was there over the summer. They actually hooked me up with a tool that allows us to cut our shafts a little bit more accurately. So where did I put that Sharpie? It's right here. So actually, you can see this tool here has a small notch in it, right there at the bottom. So since Damien wants it cut at 45 and a quarter, we actually take our tool and put this outside edge, the unnotched edge, at 45 1/4. And I don't have the grips necessarily out yet, but it allows us to mark our spot an 1/8 inch short. And that is because, let me grab one of his old shafts that has a grip on it. So you can see here how it has like these lines, right? That line actually accounts for an 1/8 of an inch of just pure rubber from the grip. So we have to account for that when cutting, that we're gonna have that 1/8 of an inch extra. So let's tamp this down once more, just to make sure we're all good there. And check it again that our marking is at an 1/8 inch shy of what we actually wanted the end result to be. So this is, it's kind of stuck at the moment. I'll pull the graphite puller out and just basically pull it right off so I don't screw up the shaft. But probably sand it down just a hair more, just so it can slide in a little easier. I don't want it to be too tight because then the glue won't set properly inside. Okay, so you all can see I've pulled out the graphite shaft puller here. The reason why you have a graphite shaft puller is actually because, unlike a steel shaft, graphite is made of multiple pieces. You know, steel shaft is just one, excuse me, just one, obviously, piece of steel or whatever the material may be. A graphite shaft is actually woven fibers together. So to not damage it necessarily, you have to pull whatever you're pulling, in this case obviously a club head, straight off. So you can just put it on there and start to twist, and eventually, there we go, it'll start to push it off nice and easy. But that just goes to show that we definitely need to sand a little bit more down on this shaft, more up at the tip section. Okay, so now we can see here it slides in and out. It's still snug. You know, it still gets stuck as I go down in there, which is exactly what we want, but it is now ready for, it is now ready for gluing. So we're going to be using long cure epoxy, as I mentioned before. I think it's pronounced Brampton. They make the best stuff for any golf application, so that's what we'll be using there. So now on to the 70X, which is our 3-wood. For a 18 degree to a 20 degree, we do not need to tip trim at all. And I believe this is an 18 degree, so we do not need to tip trim his 3-wood. Some companies require you tip trim for a 3/5 wood. He has it more set as like a 4-wood, I think. Okay, so we really went to town on this one, just so I didn't have to go back again. I say went to town, we didn't go crazy. But you can see it's not wiggling in there. It's just perfect. So let's see. I don't think he did not want to touch the 3-wood. I have all my specs down here if you're looking. So we want to go to 42.5. So make sure it's in there. Back down here. And we're going to 42.5. So grab our tool, put it at 42.5 right over here, and make our mark just on the inside once we make sure everything's pushed down one last time. So now I got that mark. I will put this down over yonder, put it back in the head cover. Biggest thing when we do all of our builds is we make sure that the heads stay as protected as possible, because I mean, especially if they're new, you don't want to damage a new head before a client gets it, you know? We have a 4 hybrid. Since it is a 21 degree, we need to take a ½ inch off. So this is going to be very loud. But mark it here at ½ inch. And now we can chop it. Okay, so now that that's all in there, sound difference is how we tell it's all the way down. And make this, and his hybrid was previously at 40, so put this up here, back down there, plenty of room. Okay, here we go. We're going to chop off to make length. I always double, triple check just to make sure our markings are correct, because you never a club that's improperly built, then that comes out of my pocket, which is no fun. No fun for me. Cutting part's always the most nerving for me, just for the fact of there's no going back after that part. So now time to get some glue mixed up here, and so now we're on to the hybrid. If I remember correctly, the hybrid's going to be fairly straightforward, hopefully. So let's see, $1 in here. That's a small dollop, will go bigger. Another small. Okay. 2 in there. Roll it. Glass it. A ferrule. Because that's the one thing that customers always, I'm not going to say complain about, but they always mention that the ferrule slips off or something like that. So never want that to happen to one of my customers. So let's make sure we get this on straight. Glass it. Now it's been on there. Tamp it a few more times. Really make sure we're all the way down. There we go. Now glass it once more. And once more. So y'all are gonna say I use a lot of glass, which I do. I'm not afraid to admit, but I do that because you want it to sit in there straight. You don't want anything sitting there all cockeyed and goofy. So That's why we twist them so much. And just like that, the shafts are pretty much all ready to go for the next time. I mean, they still gotta drill out some stuff through the middle, but I mean that's when we gotta take the grips off and everything. So currently they're in a state of if need of an emergency, um, at a tournament or something, we can always throw them back in with the grip, so we don't have to wait for a grip to dry, especially after the epoxy. But we're all good now, ready to go. Head back to Damien.
Alright, so now that everything's dry, I apologize. I didn't film this part. Damien actually came over to pick him up, and we started talking, and I forgot to hit play on the camera. But we went ahead, turned all of his ferrules down to make them nice and smooth, make them look very OEM, as if they came straight from Titleist themselves. We threw the grips on, which is an interesting process here in the dorm, not having a vise or anything like that, but we may do with it. I attached a picture here, as you can see on your screen, and Damon's out there ripping them right now. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for hopefully some more dorm room builds.